Call the meeting to order. Everyone rise and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, can we get a roll call?
Absolutely. Wonderjeb?
Here.
Klein?
Here.
Steffes?
Here.
Gardine?
Here.
Palmer here. DeHaan?
Here.
Highwood?
Here.
Full house.
Thank you very much. As a courtesy to the members of the audience and the Board of Education, please silence your cell phones. Public will only be able to speak during public comment if signed up. And I've got the forms here. Anything else? All set? Good. Thank you. All right. First item is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
Support.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes. Reports agenda. Ms. Gardine, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Hey, Parks and Rec still has a QR code out there for anyone to go on to and make some suggestions about things that they would like to see. We're working on our next strategic plan. We're at the end of our 10-year strategic plan from prior, and so any and all ideas. So we'd love to see that. It's been fun to watch our band get some of their highest scores that they've gotten in a long time. I personally love our color guard uniforms so much. They are like my favorite this year. It's really great to see the sports teams kind of closing down their seasons. We have some really good success stories there. I'm sure we'll have some tennis stories maybe from our president over there. And it's fun for me because winter sports are starting, so
Wow.
Lewis went to hockey today. And then I was super privileged to get to be at Oakstown Intermediate and do the Amazing Shake. And so we were in like groups of 4 all around, and there was question, hula hoop question, and guess who got the hula hoop? Me. I'm not so great at it, right, Sean? Oh, I'm not so great at it. Okay. We had some really good hula hoop handshaking kids, so the gauntlet still needs some judges if we have some board members who might be interested in the gauntlet. It's such a blast, and it's such a privilege to be able to see the joy, energy, and plans going into that building. Brian and Stacy are they're just gifted administrators, and I appreciate that so much. So it shows in the kids. That's all.
Thank you. Joe?
I'll keep it short, but volleyball's coming to an end, as Amy alluded to, so along with other sports. But one thing that I just want to say thank you to the coaches. Again, fantastic job. One thing that I noticed, we were at an away game last week at West Ottawa, and a kind of a cool tradition they did. It was their senior night, and they presented all of our seniors with a rose. And I thought that was a cool tradition. And so I just want to say that's pretty neat stuff. So that's all I have.
Cool. Bob?
No report.
Kim?
In terms of activities, first, thanks. Sorry I had to miss the last meeting. I was really, really sick for a couple of weeks. So glad to be up and moving around, take those things for granted. The Great Shake was there too. I'll just echo everything you said. It was a phenomenal morning of talking to kids and learning from, and I learned so much from them in the conversations. That really blew my mind. Speaking of learning from students, the Suburban, our Spotify podcast, I have to be honest, I didn't know much about it, but the recent kudos that go to Eden and Mr. Cox for that work, I started listening to it, and I was in tears. Like, I spent my whole afternoon on Saturday listening to it while raking leaves and going, oh, this is amazing, this is beautiful. And again, students can teach us so much, so I'm really proud of that program and the things that it brings to our students. Of course, the band's been at many competitions. I say this every year, but it is absolutely no lie. It gets better and better every time. And this year blows every other year out of the water. And I've been at them for about 10 years, so it's pretty amazing. And then participate in the Aviation Advisory Board for Career and Technical Education last week that we host here. We're bringing in pilots, we bring in the Kent County Sheriffs for unmanned aerial systems, we bring in the Career and Technical Education Center representatives, we have representatives from Young Eagles, and talk about all the different ways that we provide aviation opportunities. It's not just about flying the plane, it's designing the plane, it's fixing the plane, it's the folks in the tower, all the different opportunities that we as a board have supported through this aviation class and the greater county network of people, and it just keeps growing and getting better. We took a tour of the robotics center, explains how those drone systems build into our programs. In terms of learning and career pathways, it was a really neat opportunity. And finally, and long-winded alert here, I get a lot of questions this time of year about what is a school board, what do you do, because it's clearly election season. And so I feel it's important to actually state, in the spirit of education, what it is that we do, since we have an audience here, and I get this question all the time. And it's a really important, valuable service to the community, which is summarized by the Michigan Association of School Boards really well on their website. So I recommend, if you want to learn a lot, go there and they'll tell you what we do and do not do. But they tie it directly back to the specific laws in our state, which is the Michigan Revised School Code. And in summary, the Board of Education has the ultimate responsibility for school district operations, but the most important and key part of what we do, and yes, I have to read some stuff to keep myself from talking too much, is evaluate our superintendent and hire them, and they provide the staffing, the expertise, the proposals, the budget, and decisions to ensure that areas of board oversight are met. And boy, do we have a great superintendent and staff all across the board, so we're really fortunate for that. The short of it is, we don't manage the day-to-day positions of a district, the operations, the granular decisions. And as I had dinner with a friend from another district the other day, she went, I never knew that. So I thought it was important to state that here, that we provide oversight and approval on major items like policy, curriculum, budget, safety, et cetera, and we ensure we have the best leaders to make those day-to-day decisions in the best interest of our students and our community, and in alignment with the strategic plan, which we did help formulate as a board. But we also have to base our decisions in our policies on local, state, and federal laws. That's a very important part of what we do, is keeping in alignment with those laws. We do not exist outside the rule of law, regardless of our individual feelings about things or our whole opinions as a group. We still have to follow all those laws. Why do I bring this up? It seems sometimes we lose sight of those things. And sometimes we lose sight of the academic standards for which we are responsible to not only ensure instruction upon, but also to uphold as a board, regarding living in a plural, democratic, and federalist republic. As a former social studies teacher, these things are really important to me and valuable to me. And as an elected official for the school board, we have to ensure the instruction of our standards, which is a state law, through our selected curriculum, which is our board policy. And it's our duty to impart and uphold these standards. And it's yours, my fellow members, it's our candidates that are running, it's our families that are here, it's our instructors to uphold all those things. And it also starts with our students, who are held to a very, very high standard through the Michigan Department of Education Social Studies standards. What kind of things do we teach them? We teach them, how do we get along with others? Why can't I have everything I want? Why is it important to learn about the past? How do people work together in a community when they disagree? We expect them to, and these are direct quotes from our standards, state an issue as a question of public policy and discuss public solutions, possible solutions from different perspectives. We expect them to identify points of view and bias, including their own. We expect them to apply democratic values and constitutional principles to support a position on an issue. We expect them to act out of rule of law and hold others accountable to the same standard. We expect them to describe situations in which they demonstrated self-discipline and individual responsibility. We expect them to explain the need for rules and the purposes of those rules, including safety, organization, and fairness. We expect them to give examples of power that are with and without authority, such as a principal versus a bully. We expect them to explain fair ways to make decisions and resolve conflict. We expect them to describe responsibilities people have at home and at school and in their community, such as taking care of yourself, taking care of your neighbors, having respect for others, following rules, and getting along with people. And all those standards I just read to you are a handful of standards from our K through 3 curriculum. Those are for 8-year-olds and below, not to mention all the way up to 12th grade. I want you to hear the standards that we have as a state and as a board for our students. And while we have the responsibility to ensure instruction on those things, it is the modeling of them, and I'm underscoring, bold printing, and double tapping that, modeling of them that will make the greatest impact on our students. We are not above the rules, even if we did not make them or if we did make them. If we disagree with them or we disagree with others who made them. If we dislike their point of view, we don't have the option to go outside of those rules and policies. Which brings me to my final point. It's election season, and don't you worry, I'm not here to stump for a candidate or talk about my political views. This is important that we have a standard to uphold as a district, which is to follow the rule of law and follow the example we expect for our students and community. And all of these rules are outlined in our state curriculum and in our board policies. 3231A, participation in political activities, clearly states how literature can and cannot be distributed and during what times and what locations in our district. By staff, by students, by community members. 9700, distribution and posting of literature, very clearly states no outside organization can come in here and do that. It very clearly states those things. And if you don't know where those things are at, it is okay. We have them posted for you in public, in places where you can see them. They're on our website. They're available here anytime for you to review. They're in this giant binder of policies that we as a board have a responsibility to review and approve. And I bring this up because I'm hearing violations of those things. Doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, doesn't matter which candidate you support. I don't support it, and I hope our board doesn't either. I'm tired of this divisiveness. We must do better. If you are aware of behaviors of groups of people that are actively breaking these policies, state and federal law, or just generally regarding a behavior that is not reflective of the expectations we place on our own students for managing a difference in opinion about something, then do better. We have constitutional principles of common good, truth, rule of law, diversity, federalism, just to name a few, or how about human decency? To treat each other better even when we have differences. We need to speak out against these kind of behaviors clearly, loudly, and immediately. I'm going to leave you with one set of standards that also comes from social studies as well. In social studies in middle school, we talk about the 5 major world religions, something that's really important, whether you subscribe to all those religions or none at all, it's fine. Because understanding others helps us understand ourselves. And I think understanding other religions helps me understand how to put this into perspective for me and where I'm at. Not necessarily for the board. In Judaism, the Torah says that slander kills 3 people: the speaker, the listener, and the subject. In Islam, the Quran emphatically forbids mockery and ridicule and fault-finding in others and describes these actions as sordid and ugly. In Buddhism, it is taught that the mind is the forerunner of all actions. Buddha's response to the human condition isn't to suggest political or social change, but to first examine yourselves. Bhava Buddhi, an ancient Hindu scholar, warned people to avoid getting caught up in rumor mongering. If someone puts you in a position where a reputation is at stake, oppose slander and fight it. And finally, in Christianity, the Bible states in Ephesians 4:31, get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. If those reasons don't move you, hopefully the rule of law and decency will. I'm done.
Thank you. Order, please. Order.
I'm not saying anything more. I didn't really have a report, but I think what you said I should sit with. And I appreciate bringing the attention to what happened. I was out of town, but certainly heard about some things, so I'm hoping that as a board we can do better. Yep. So that's my report.
Thank you. Brent?
For me, just want to say thank you to the staff and volunteers for Victory Day again. A lot of parents and people attend that. I wasn't able to attend this year, but I've seen pictures and heard reports that it was awesome. From all of them that I've been to, the thing that I like to watch the most is watching the parents of the students, just seeing their excitement when the kids run out on the field. That means a lot to me. Also, 7th and 8th grade football season just got done. My youngest son got to coach that this year. Got to go watch him at Kentwood. That was awesome. Such a great experience for him to get to be able to do that. You probably would be surprised that he'd talk to anybody out there, but I hear that he does. And then, I was not at the football game Friday night, but I was up north, but I watched the football game, and having him on YouTube is really awesome. Like, I'd watching basketball games last year and football this year. I don't know if that hurts our attendance at all, but having the ability to do that is pretty awesome for most of the games. So I don't know who all does that, but it's good to have that option.
Absolutely.
That's all that I've got.
All right, thank you. For my items, yes, Victory Day sounded like it was great. I was right next door at the conference meet for tennis, so I got to hear it all morning, but I didn't get a chance to get over there because my son's competitions were happening. So appreciate everyone that was able to come and support those students there. We did have the end of the tennis season, along with a number of other fall sports. So I think we ended up 5th, in the conference or something like that. So the team is young. We've got a lot of young kids on the team, on the varsity team, so they should be set up pretty well for the next few years. just a little brag, my son did get all conference honorable mention for one double, so he was pretty happy with that. So that was a lot of fun. The band competitions, right? Those have been going hot and heavy, and then just a great event Saturday. I mean, so Saturday was all day bands, right? We had I'm gonna get it backwards. We had the Grandville one in the morning, and then we did the Reese Puffer one in the afternoon, and a number of us were there for basically the entire time. So that was a lot of fun, and just a great showing, and just so much fun. And I do love every time we get a chance to see our kids get involved and volunteer with stuff. They had so much fun running in the concession stand. I was in there for quite a while, and the kids just were just willing to jump in and help. I had one kid that was done, marching, and he came back in. He's like, "Hey, do we need anything else?" I said, "Yes, we need to have someone go clean the stadium." Got it. Boom, and he just went right out to it, right? And just shows you the character of a lot of our kids that we have, especially those that are involved in different sports and activities. So that was a lot of fun to see. We had student conferences at the high school and a number of the elementaries. It looked like I was a little worried with the high school because we didn't offer the online option this year, so I wasn't sure how that was going to work out. Heard a little grumblings about that, nothing major, but it was still had great attendance, I thought, for the high school for conferences, so that was pretty cool. We did get a chance, so I'm just going to poke Roger here a little bit. West Ottawa, they had a band competition out at West Ottawa, and I got a chance to meet the superintendent out there and get a tour of the press box, that football field. So I'm not sure, what's in the budget, here coming forward, but, he did mention that was a kind of a prefab a unit that we could just come and plop up there. So I'm just FYI. So, I mean, it was one of those things I saw.
Say we give it to us?
Yeah, I asked him if he had any money left over in that bond he passed, but no, he wasn't really offering that up. And then the Suburban, I appreciate you mentioning that. I got turned on to that last year when David, which was one of our students, previous years, he had done an episode, and I've been listening to that for a while. So that's really cool to see them getting recognition for that. So congrats to them. I got a chance to go to the choir concert that Mr. Moore and Miss Niviata put on, and there was a special guest for one of the performances. So not going to name any names, but that was a lot of fun. But there was one piece that they did, I think, and I'm going to get it wrong, and I apologize. I think it was, the title of the show was like Me, You, Us, I think, or something like that. Was that the way it was? Something like that, right? And it was just kind of exploring that. All the songs were kind of exploring that. And one of the songs was called The Open Hand. And I just want to kind of read a passage about this song, and where it came from. So, born enslaved in 1818 in Mississippi, Bridget Biddy Mason's life was nothing short of amazing. As an enslaved person, Biddy was owned by slaveholders in Georgia and South Carolina before returning to Mississippi, where she was taken by her last owner on a trek to Salt Lake City as part of the Mormon migration to the west. Biddy was made to walk 1,700 miles behind a 300-wagon caravan that was responsible for cooking, making camp, and herding cattle, all while also taking care of her own 3 children. Biddy's journey eventually led her to California, where she challenged her owner for her freedom and won. Biddy worked, saved her money, and eventually became a prominent landowner in Los Angeles, where she started the first African Methodist Episcopal Church in the city. In the midst of her unbelievably difficult life, she spoke these words: "If you hold your hand closed, nothing good can come in. The open hand is blessed, for it gives in abundance, even as it receives." It's impossible for me to imagine the strength a person must have to make such a generous, wise, and optimistic statement when the life lived would certainly permit a much more negative outlook. And I share that with you, right? Because I do think sometimes we do go through life with our hand closed, and not being willing to open up and hear what the views are, what the other people think, and so forth. So I just encourage everybody, to live your life, with your hand open, because I do firmly believe we can gain so much more by being open than being by closed off. So that's all I have. Roger.
Yes, thank you for sharing, everybody. Appreciate that. We have some special guests with us today and a special presentation. I'm going to turn things over to the big guy in the front row, Fred. Fred, would you go ahead and fill us in?
Well, today we have with us JJ and Josh from Consumers Energy. We've partnered up with them on our last few construction projects to try to see what we can do to be more energy efficient for the district. And on that note, they've went through our projects, went through all the prints and plans and helped us figure out how we were saving the money and what we were doing to be more energy efficient. And they provided us with a rebate check. It is roughly around $78,132.81.
Wow.
That was for the 7-8 building, our last phase of GEC, and then $1,500 for employee training. And JJ would like to say a word.
Yep. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is JJ Carpenter. I'm with Consumers Energy, and I'm your account manager for Grandville Public Schools. I'm with Josh Cockfield, who is our energy efficiency partner with all the projects that Grandville Public Schools have been doing. So we're very excited to be in front of the board, Superintendent Mr. Barrow and everyone else. This is really a milestone for a lot of our K through 12 schools, right? Partnering with them and you parents as well to be more energy efficient, to make sure that we're providing our kids with the best, and as we go into the future, make sure that, you know, all the buildings that they've been in is all energy efficient as well. So, thank you. Thank you.
So that's what we say in those projects.
Awesome. Does she have a wallet big enough?
Thank you all.
Thank you, Fred.
Thanks, Fred.
And thank you to Consumers Energy, and thank you to Fred. I know our crew works very hard to, you know, look at everything, analyze everything, and determine where we can have energy savings. So appreciate that a great deal. I have one other thing that I want to talk to everyone about. I wanted to provide some thoughts and truths regarding the new Title IX policy that we passed back on August 5th. This new Title IX policy, no matter whose name you attach to it, is policy based upon federal law. We cannot choose which laws we are and we are not going to follow. I have to admit, at times, there have been laws that I do not like, and I grumble every time that I have to follow them. In those instances, and in the particular situation, this particular situation, I refuse to break the law. As a district, we cannot do that without serious ramifications. There seems to be a great deal of focus on a fear that our LGBTQ plus students will just be barging into whatever bathroom they want, whenever they want, or using whatever locker room they want, whenever, as well as a fear of athletic concerns. Truth is, we've been working through these scenarios with parents and their children for over a decade. We are not concerned about this area of the new Title IX legislation, as it does not change what we do and have done with a high level of success. Here are some truths about this policy to help clarify. This law does not negate the practices we have in place in regards to how we work with our LGBTQ plus community in regards to bathrooms, locker rooms, pronoun usage, and the like. Again, we've been doing this for more than a decade. Whenever there's a request by a student, we always bring the parent into the conversation regarding these topics, and we work out a plan that works for all involved, including our non-LGBTQ plus population, who also has rights within bathrooms, locker rooms, etc. Again, this does not change. The new regulations omit athletics from their scope. The MHSAA has been and is the governing body for student eligibility in each sport. They have a process that has been in place in the past pass for situations that may arise, and I've not heard one word from Director Mark Ewell regarding any changes in their plans. Here is what people are not talking about regarding the new Title IX policy. The new Title IX policy addresses all forms of sexual harassment between students, between adults. I was recently asked what would happen if we broke the law and didn't adopt the policy, or if we rescinded this policy. For any Title IX complaint after August 1st, for those buildings not linked to Moms for Liberty and the Kansas case at this time, which for them would be using the old policy, we would still, by law, investigate and probably do so under the old regs. We would make a decision and be sued by whoever didn't agree with our decision and our process, as we would not be following the law. We would lose, more than likely owe the person a great deal of money and damages, and they would be back working with us or be back in school as things were. This would happen for every case that we would investigate that takes place after August 1st. In my 36 years as an administrator, the last 10 as your superintendent, I can honestly say that sexual harassment or discrimination lawsuits I have experienced very rarely include our LGBTQ plus populations, but rather non-LGBTQ plus students and non-LGBTQ plus adults. Look, I know this policy can be emotional for people and has become quite politicized during this election season. We assure you it does not change our practices within our schools in regards to bathrooms, locker rooms, and athletic contests. Simply put, we are not worried about maintaining our practices and procedures already in place. Also, I want to reiterate that this is federal law. Personally, I will not violate the law. It does not matter who people think chose to bring this into law. It is important for us to listen to people's emotional, fearful, and yes, sometimes political concerns and opinions. However, at the end of the day, I hope you understand that this Title IX policy needed to pass in August because it is the law. If we did not pass it, the exposure would have so many detrimental effects on the district we all love. Thanks for listening.
All right, thank you very much. All right, moving on. Any old business?
No old business.
All right, fantastic. Consent action agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Regular action items. Start with 5A, the PACE parent recommendation for 2024. Recommendation, it is recommended the Board of Education approve Miss Lindsay Klockner, a central parent, for a second term of 3 years as a Grandville representative on the PACE, the Parent Advisors for Special Education Committee at KISD. Lindsay's first term ended in August 2024, but we would like to extend her another term, and this needs to be renominated and submitted for board approval. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
So as you know, we have representatives on that committee, and from time to time, we have to either renew or elect new people to that. Mrs. Ernst is here to talk to you about it. Take away, Mrs. Ernst.
Well, I really came to see if you guys had any questions, but Mrs. Klockner has already served 3 years, and she is looking to serve another. So I think that's really special. I don't think that always happens, and she's also been the treasurer on that committee as well, and I think she's going to continue to do that. So I think she's been an important part of it, and she's looking to continue.
Great.
I think, so I was PAC PACE for 6 years prior to being on the board, and it's a hard job because you are an advocate, you're a voice for those families, especially special needs families throughout the district. So to find someone who's willing to do it a second term, must be a very special lady. So I think that's very cool.
I second what you have to say, Bob. We both have children with special needs and understand the importance of having that extra advocate. I often sat in meetings and wondered, how does somebody without a background in this navigate the system, and having a parent advocate like Lindsay is just an invaluable asset to our district.
Great.
I'd also like to thank administration for supporting her well also, because that's an aspect of that too. So thank you, Karen.
Any discussion? Any other questions? All right. Let's vote. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Ernst. 5B, authorizing a resolution for proposed refunding of 2015 Building and Site Bonds Series 2. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the attached resolution, which allows the district to proceed with refinancing outstanding debt provided favorable market conditions are present.
Yes, very exciting. And Heather's going to talk.
I'm sorry, can we get a motion?
Oh, you better do that.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion.
So Heather, 11%,
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it?
that's like, wow, I'm over the moon with it.
Yeah, now this is, you'll recall, we brought you the 2013 refunding a couple years ago. That was a lot smaller. This, because it's larger, not to exceed 39.5. That helps too with the percent return, but yeah, so about 4 million savings on interest for taxpayers. It's not something the district sees, but it is a direct impact on those that live in the community and are paying the taxes.
So Heather, with the fact that we do not go into the state bond fund, and we do it privately or separately, does that help us in this particular situation, or is it just the market itself right now? Anybody would get it, whether you're doing it on your own or part of the state bond fund?
It helps that, it helps in that, if your property values were to decline, you wouldn't have all of the rules to follow being in that school bond loan fund. So it does help with that. A lot of it is the market right now for this type of investment. But it's definitely the right time. And
How long does this process take?
So the next steps will be very similar to the previous time. If you approve it tonight, then we'll get rolling with our preliminary official statement. All those financial documents will go out to people, and then April-ish we'll go and sell, and then close after that. Bring those results back to you, and you approve that, we'll close.
So the market has to stay for this as it is till through April then.
What's that?
So the market has to stay as it is through April then.
Yeah, but I believe just the way I feel about our financial investors or investment firm that we work with and stuff, they have actuaries on that, and I'm pretty sure that 11% is pretty conservative, and it should be close to that. So
Good.
Sweet.
Well, wonderful
That's
job.
it.
again.
Nice job.
thanks.
Keeping your eyes on it at all times.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you. Any other questions, discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. On to 5C, the 100% summer tax collection resolution. It is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the attached resolution imposing a 100% summer tax levy on all school property taxes, including debt service, upon property located within the school district, and request each city and/or township in which this district is located collect those summer taxes. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Discussion.
So this dates back to 2000, well before my time here. I believe Tim Raymer was in my role at the time, and was an advocate to help get this through. It helps us immensely because our state aid payments, we receive over 11 months. So the month of September, we do not receive a state aid payment. And so being able to collect these funds helps us with cash flow and meeting those obligations that we have outstanding. So there's about roughly 20 districts in Kent County. About half of them have a 100% summer tax base. The others have twice a year, summer and winter. So.
You already answered my only question. Thanks.
Does Ottawa County Schools do it too? Do you know? I'm just thinking maybe some of our neighbors.
Yes, but I'm not sure which. I'm not sure which ones. Okay. I could look that up, or I can get that for you.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? All right. All those in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. On to reports and discussion. Review through policies 4,000 and 5,000. Fun stuff.
Yes. So 4,000s and 5,000s tonight. You may recall this process. We started out with the 1s, 2s, and 3s last time and had discussion, took questions, and so on. The board has had these policies for some time now to review. Tonight we'll do the 4,000s and the 5,000s, and John's here to help me walk us through this. So I guess starting with the 4,000s like we did last time, why don't we just throw it out for any questions you might have?
If you don't mind, I noticed a couple of things pretty much throughout that talk about policy 3118, the last reading. I don't know, maybe it's easiest just to click search on 3118 and switch it all to 3115. But I don't know if you noticed that.
Roger and I talked about that today. Their 2020 Title IX policy was 3118, and then they have the, now it's all the 3115, and so yes, I'll need to go through and make sure that I catch all those 3118s and make them 3115s. And we talked about it today. I was looking at the 52 something with the student piece, and I was like, oh, there it is. So we'll have to definitely have to go through and make sure that that's all there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I do have one other question.
Okay, go for it. Go right ahead. Yeah.
So we're talked, I think, the last time a little bit about the student handbook.
Yeah.
And how important that was to get that out.
Yep.
And not just electronically, but are we
Yep.
going to consider doing it in writing as well? And if so, or either way, actually, will it be available in multiple languages? I think we kind of talked about it last time a little bit.
If somebody wants a paper copy, for sure, we can print it. The way that we have it online, they can access the multiple languages. And I asked the question about, hey, at what point do we hit some of the key components of this? And I know they hit those key components early in the school year at both the middle school and the high school. But then anytime there's a change in the handbook, that's also brought to students' attention. If we see things that are popping up that are outside of that, they bring that in as well. In most cases, our students are looking on digitally as opposed to the paper side of it. But we can replicate a paper copy at any point.
Okay.
Yep.
You say they hit on it. In what form? I mean, what's the format that they hit on?
It's on a Google site at the high school.
No, I'm sorry. We talked about reviewing some of the main topics.
Sorry.
Yeah, so what's the...
Yeah, sometimes they'll do that in announcements. So like Mr. Langto or the assistant principals will go on and say, hey, we need to talk about this, 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 or this. I know that he and Roger talked to some of our students at their student leadership meetings about some of the things that are going on and some of the policy pieces and what can we do to help share that information with people in a more effective way. Most of it comes out at the beginning of the school year when they hit at their orientations in those moments. But again, if there's something that changes throughout the year or something needs to get highlighted, they just do that live in the announcements.
Okay. I know we had talked about trying to do something a little more formal, and I threw out the idea of, is it the first seminar class, for the high school, right? Where we've got everyone's kind of captured in. So
Yeah.
I would encourage you guys to, find out if there's a way to have something a little more formal to review some of the
Any kind of
topics.
orientation, that'd be the perfect time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Seminars is a
Especially
good
new,
idea.
I'm sorry, especially new, like students.
Yeah.
We've had some refugees come in and then have something in their language bullet pointed. Might be good, especially because they're familiar a lot of times with the state law, but they're not familiar with the student handbook. To bullet point some of those for them specifically would be exceptionally time saving in the long run.
Get a group together with our high school and middle school people and have some conversation about it, about some different ways we can do it. And as John mentioned, there are several ways we point things out now, especially if something's not going well, we definitely point it out, you know, what the handbook says, but I think there could be multiple avenues added to that, so we'll definitely consider that.
Perfect. I have
40
Go ahead, please.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say 4217, I just had a question on social media. So it doesn't necessarily, it talks about not, the use of social media while on district property, but it doesn't necessarily, unless I'm not seeing it, talk about, is that, is it their own personal social media or school social media accounts? So.
Yeah, it covers both.
It does cover both?
Yep.
Okay, all right, just wanted that clarification. So
Yep.
appreciate that.
4210, John. So when we look at society and the changes that are occurring, and especially with this drug and alcohol-free workplace, and the definitions talk about marijuana, but it doesn't specifically mention THC. And I'm just wondering why. Because I think that has become a recreational, I'm going to call it a drug. It is a recreational drug. And I just think we need to have some type of control on it with our staff. If we're going with everything else you're providing, why wouldn't we?
Is that considered a controlled substance, I believe?
Yep.
Still?
Yep.
So it falls
Yeah.
in that. I mean, you can label out everything, but I mean, that is a
Well, when you're
controlled substance, so
mentioning,
it's defined.
when you mention marijuana, pretty much it's the THC in marijuana that has that effect. So,
Yeah. And
just
I-
from
I
a
can-
point of
yep.
definition.
Yeah, I could see the importance of having that as it relates to vape pens.
Oh.
Yep.
Right.
So,
I mean,
yep.
that is an issue that we have in the high school to this day with the bathrooms. So to me, I know we're not talking about students now, we're talking about staff, but it's one of those things.
Yep.
And then going back into 4211, just the controlled substance again, John. That's all, I'm just stating it, that I'm paying attention to these as I went through them.
Understood.
$4214. Outside activities and employment, when it comes to conduct standards, unless the superintendent or designee grants written authorization, employees may not engage in the following outside activities: provide private services, lessons, tutoring, or coaching of students. John, you have any idea how many teachers probably are tutoring? So does this create a violation?
I think the way that that's mostly written is, the goal of that is to make sure that our teachers aren't using their teaching role to advocate for tutoring and extra money in tutoring for their children. So like we run our summer tutoring program. That's in school, but not necessarily in school. So that's what that's really written for, but I
Okay.
can see based on the reading of it, and I hadn't read it in that way, I can see based on the reading of it that would ask a question.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, if you look at paragraph 2 there, it really explains, what this policy is alluding to. Such activities must not interfere with an employee's ability to carry out the employee's responsibilities to serve as a role model and community example. So they're really alluding to those things can't happen unless the superintendent says it's okay for them to happen during their employment duties.
Yeah, or the principal. And in most cases, if we have folks that are doing some of that tutoring or support outside of school for our students, the principal knows, or Roger knows, just to make sure that, that our teachers are out with our kids outside of school.
Having seen some of those examples too, just with friends in the elementary school, I think it is important also that this also says no tutoring to those assigned to the employee, because I have seen where people will tutor, but they aren't tutoring the kids that are in their classroom, right? So it creates this sense of being able to make sure that more eyes are seen on that student that might need help, so.
John, I got a smile when I read this one.
Okay.
5106, under student rights. It was intentionally left blank.
Yeah, I did, that too. Yeah, I did.
Now, you're not going to complain about that, or I expect students to complain about it.
I'm just saying it made me smile, that's all. It's just a point of reference.
Yeah, like I had shared.
That to them now. It can be like,
I had shared early on that there were some policies that they put in there that said, this is an optional policy. If you choose not to use it, put in intentionally left blank, put that in your table of contents as well, so that it's a placeholder, so yeah. And I don't remember what that one was off the top of my head.
And I will say, after reading, I'm going to say the most boring section was 4,000s, but I didn't have much to it. But
that was my favorite
5,000s
part.
got exciting, but 4,000s did, John. That probably got you excited on the board.
Yeah, those are my favorite parts.
But
I'd ask Roger about this, but on the 4404, the student or the superintendent designee may implement a performance-based compensation. Roger said that we don't do that at all, but that's...
It's really based on if we negotiated performance-based compensation, it allows, having that in there really allows us, if that's where we decided to go with our bargaining units, then we would be able to do.
But we don't do that right now, right?
No.
Ready to move on to 5,000 then?
yeah,
All right, perfect.
5204. My only statement on this is I believe it is a policy that is not monitored or adhered to effectively,
Okay.
specifically middle school, high school. And I think if you were to periodically ask staff, whether they're teaching or in the lunchroom, I think that they could easily see violations of this, to the point that administration in those buildings should easily see the same thing. And every one of these is in here for a reason, and we need to make sure that they're adhered to.
Understood.
So I'd love it if you guys could make sure that gets down to the principals.
Yep.
5407, on the complaints about library material, I think the resolution on that we had previously was that there would be an adult section in the library, but I didn't see that in here in the policy. There's the procedures, but I didn't see that called out.
Yeah, and what I did when I looked at this one is I looked back at our Neola specific policy, and we didn't specify it in the Neola policy as well. We had this piece that was under, if you have a question or you want something questioned, here's how you do it. The adult section or the aged section at our high school is more of the practice that comes out of the work of the policy. So that's just as an explanation of why it's not in there.
So that's more of a guideline that we have based on the policy from Neola, and it would be the same here for sure.
So while we're here,
Yeah.
why don't we have a policy on library materials?
We do, right here.
Not on the acquisition or how they are acquired. And I think we need guardrails. Because when we got into this about 3 years ago, if memory serves me correctly, if we had a policy, we wouldn't have let it get out of hand 12 to 13 years ago when it started coming into our libraries.
Yeah, we hired a media specialist to focus on that, on looking at all books that are purchased and weeding out books that are not, really used in circulation. And that's been done. That was a thorough process that was done. So, and Scott, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but our media specialist is responsible for evaluating all books that now come into our libraries, and we couldn't say that before.
I understand that. Go ahead,
So
Scott.
from a process standpoint, specifically what she implemented are written processes to the main things are A, verify age appropriateness, and B, verify 2 professional positive reviews. And she does all of that, and then all library books are then approved by the building principal as well. So we have a multi-step process.
Okay, you know what? I know don't get offended. I just think you're sidestepping the need for a policy. This book that we've read has how the district will operate, how we will manage, how we will take care of our staff, how we will ensure our students will learn. But we don't have anything on the libraries, which is contentious to some of our population and some of our board members. I'm telling you.
This highlighted part is on the library.
But it is not on the acquisition of it. And I think I would love to see a policy on it, or at least ask through, have other districts done it? I still believe in the need for it. If we have a filter for electronic access, we should have a similar process for the written word on paper.
Maybe we should, Scott, look at the guidelines that are followed for those,
Absolutely.
and
I
we'll
think
share them with you.
I want to do some digging into this
That's
too,
fine.
before you're asked to approve, because I think there is some guidance in one of the policies. So absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
5207E, the annual bullying report. Did I miss something? Is that something we've done before that you provided us? Because I don't ever remember seeing it. So
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Is that a new, something new?
Jumping backwards.
I'm going backwards, hang on.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We've
Did you say
created,
5207?
5207.
E, the reporting of the bullying
Okay.
incidents on an annual basis by the schools.
so have we brought it here? We have not brought it here in our past. That is something that as we started looking at these policies, we were like, oh, well, here's an area that we need to improve, right? Because we pull that data and we have to report it out to the state every year. So we just need to make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable to bringing that to you guys.
Do you know, is that going to be then reported directly to us? Or would
Yeah,
that be
I think
published
what
somewhere?
we would do is probably at a June board meeting, since school will be out, we would present that.
Okay. Good.
Seems
That's
like
all.
we've had that through our safety officer, kind of a description of really all the kinds of activities that were happening across our
we have
district.
had
Yeah, we've had that in the
Which was
past.
kinda comprehensive.
But we can be because this
Oh.
policy
This one's-
says
yeah,
it
specific
that
to
way,
bullying.
we'll be very formal about providing that with you. We'll also talk about trends of those things, those behaviors that we have seen over that year.
So, just on a technicality, while we're here, I'm just wondering if this is a technicality or we're doing it right now. So in the blue, having a public hearing, with this renewal, do we have to do that again?
So this would count as
Okay.
part of that. Part of the reason why I left it highlighted in blue and then also highlighted it on this part was if you hadn't asked about it, I would have said, hey, do you want to talk about policy 5207? Because we definitely have to have that, at least some dialogue in and around that, similar, Joe, to asking that question, right? But this does qualify as that for this policy.
Would we want to do a general notice to the public about it?
And that would be something that we could do going forward if we wanted to do a more in-depth dive into the policy, for
Okay.
sure. Yeah,
All right, so, but this covers
Yeah,
that,
it
and we're not
covers
in
it.
violation.
correct.
Okay.
You are very correct. We're not in violation by having the dialogue in and around it right now.
Okay.
5209, the cell phone one. I thought that was an interesting one because it kind of goes back to, listen, there's so many policies, I don't know how you police them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is.
Yep.
It talks about using like cell phones in a locker room and so forth, right? I don't know how you police that, but good luck
Right.
with that one, so
Yep.
just FYI. 5210 though, the GPS tracking device, what is that referring to?
So we've had some instances in the past where parents have like put an air tag on their child
Oh,
because they want to know where their child is at all times. This guidance says you're welcome to do that, but it can't collect audio in the midst of that. And that's what that really boils down to. So for folks, for our students that carry like an iPhone or they use Life 360, it's the same thing.
right, yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a GPS tracking device, but at some of our lower levels, we've had parents that have wanted to have an AirTag on their kid just to know where they are. They put it in their bag but they need to obviously let us know if they're doing that, and we need to verify that it's not recording audio or video.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
5705. This is just a question, not on this, but on the background of it. So this is the student health and safety and the emergency anaphylaxis, right? Because this is life or death.
Yep.
So we do maintain EpiPens in every
Correct.
building
Correct.
that are accessible to at least the principal and the secretary.
Correct.
And or whatever health staff is there.
Yep.
And do they do periodic training?
Yeah, so all 4 of our nurses work with the office staff to do that. We have in 4 of our elementary, or K-6 buildings, we have a healthcare aide that we've hired as a paraprofessional because we have multiple students with diabetes there, so we need somebody that can be specifically trained to monitor our students with diabetes. They're also trained. But they do that training with our secretaries and principals right away at the beginning of the year, and then they follow up with them mid-year to make sure that that's all there. And our nurses are responsible for ensuring that they're up to date.
Okay, all right, just, peanut allergies and,
We had one
Nut allergies.
this week at the high school. This week or late last week, we
Yeah.
had one at the high school.
Do they
Yep.
carry them on the buses, John?
Yeah, if there's a known allergy, yes.
Okay.
I don't know if they're on every one of our buses. I'd have to ask Ryan if those are carried on the first aid kits inside the buses. If they are, then obviously our nurses are training there too. It'd just be something I don't know yet.
Okay.
Let me replace those because of expiration dates and everything.
Yeah, they take care of all of that. Our nurses are on it. Looking for grant money, doing all the things. We're
Yeah,
lucky to have the 4 of
expensive.
them.
So more of curiosity, 5409 and 5421 both talk about what I'm going to group as, basically the work-based learning experience.
Yeah.
I was fascinated to see that because I wasn't aware that we allowed internships or those types of activities, work-based learning like that, for credit and to count towards credit. Have we had many students use that?
It's becoming more prevalent.
Yeah.
And so have we recently? No. And I think that you go track all the way back to when No Child Left Behind was brought in.
Yep.
It was every kid goes to college, right? So it was the college push, college push, college push. And so some of those pieces weren't as prevalent or weren't pressed as far forward, but they were still in policy.
Yeah.
And now we have more and more students that are looking at those as great opportunities to learn and grow and to move forward in a career.
Yeah.
And so we've worked a lot harder at trying to find some of those connections and driving that forward.
Well, I think this is a great opportunity for kids that are thinking of doing like the skilled trades and so forth. There's a lot of different organizations out there that are that would love to come to our school and talk to our kids about those types of things and to give them some work experience if they didn't want to go the KCTC route, right? If they wanted to do something more work-based or directly work-based. So, I just those two caught my eye and just wanted to understand those a little bit more. So
Go ahead, Rick.
I was just going to say, our county has a work-based coordinator too.
Oh, cool.
At Kent County, so.
Through the KCTC or KISD?
Through Ken ISD, yes.
Gotcha.
gonna gladly age myself. I did co-op when I was in high school. Has it ever gone away, or has it come back?
It went away because. Like,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like
See, I can relate. I can relate.
I just forgot what it was called.
It did go away because the focus was so much on college, and it was hard to get, back in those days, kids could do co-op, they could earn credit, and or earn some money, and it went away, and our business people suffered because of that. And it's been more and more in the last, I'd say especially the last 5 years, really trying to bring back those pieces. But to do that, they had to have flexibility in the core curriculum, the content standards from Michigan, because it was very college focused. And not that you don't want kids to go to college, and some still go, lots still go to college and do work-based learning because they get some higher level certifications at college or what have you. But they've given us more flexibility over the last 5 years. When I was a curriculum person in Lowell, you couldn't do it. You just couldn't do any of that. And we tried, and we kept saying, why not? We've got kids, we've got businesses, let's get them together. But they finally have provided that flexibility.
The number of core classes that were required to graduate, simply put, increased incredibly.
Sure did.
And so then it left a very narrow
Narrow
margin of
window, yeah.
opportunity for students to leave the building and do something. Now there's also more standards around what kind of placement they're put in.
Right.
It's not just like, I want to go get out of school for 2 hours.
Right.
There's got to be some structure and
Yeah.
standard and reporting around that. You can see some of those
It's a
qualifications.
lot of articulation in
Yeah.
what
The great
credits you
opportunities.
can earn by doing those experiences.
We've had a few of our students from Pathways that were able to do that last year. I think we had 2. And we have a student from Hudsonville who's really interested in working in grounds. And so he comes and does work-based learning at Grandville in grounds.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Love it.
So
Yeah.
we're
Well, I know-
we're working through that even with other students.
I mean, there's been a number of programs right around the area. I mean, Greenville Tool and Die
Yep.
is a perfect example of one that they've had
Yep.
for years, right? So it takes a partnership, as you said, between
Yep.
the company and the school to really develop something that's worthwhile, right? So you don't just have someone go and push in a broom for
Correct.
2 hours a day, not really get anything out of
Yep.
it, right? So
We have a huge advocate in Roger, right?
Oh, you're right.
With this,
Well, he's on
the Classroom 2030,
Yeah.
where, you're doing so many cool things with that, so huge advocate, and so much work has already been done.
Right. Yeah.
You are laying the groundwork for some really impressive things.
Cool.
So, appreciate that.
That's exciting.
Thanks for doing that too.
Any other questions, comments?
You know what? I'm just gonna wait, but I'm gonna do it now. You know what? I appreciate your stance on where we're at with Title IX, 2024. I'm not in alignment. So, I'm gonna make a motion that we rescind the 2024 Title IX rules that we adopted on August 5th and adopt the 2020.
I'll second that with discussion.
So from a perspective of discussion, so I've done a lot of research on this. Because it's bothered me since it was brought to our attention. And the national chapter, or the chapter in Kansas, is planning on doing a major update at the end of the month. Right now, all schools in Grandville, with the exception of 2, are covered. I believe it's, I wrote it down. Central and Cummings are the 2 that are not covered. So we've got over 85% of our student population that is covered under the Moms for Liberty. Now, part of my justification for bringing this tonight is also it would ease a lot of stress in the community. It would bring the lever down. Now, I understand potential consequences, but I still believe with the amount of legal activity that's going on with this, that we would be justified in our position due to the connection of parents to the buildings. And I'm going back on what was discussed on the August 5th meeting, John. It was stated, now maybe it was not fact, but to me, if you stated it, it's fact, that if the majority of the district fell under the Moms for Liberty for schools and population, the board could make the distinction to just bring everything under the 2020 rule. So that's my motion.
I kind of thought it would have been litigated a little quicker, but knowing the history of the federal government, I should have known better. But I kind of thought it would have been rushed a little more. That's kind of what it sounded like was happening at the time, and here we are, kind of stalled out.
There are districts within Kent County that have not accepted it.
What two districts?
How many?
Caledonia and Durham. Can I ask a question?
Please, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, sure. So if in the list so far that we have doesn't align with the amount of schools you've said, and maybe it will be when they release another one?
Because the last time it was updated was July 31st.
Yeah, so
Substantially
maybe
long
it
ago.
will be, but right now it's not. But let's say it is. My question to you is then why rescind the policy if they're all going to be under the old policy anyway? And then why not let this shake out in the court systems so that if in fact you have two schools that aren't and we have to investigate, that we're not going to lose no matter what that decision is and get sued. Because, I mean, if you already have those, why worry about it under the old policy?
Because it just, to me, it levels the playing field back to what I believe the majority of the community would like. Now, granted, it's my own thought, but why not reset? Because I will tell you, what were my discussion points at that time? My discussion points were, because I remember what Kim said, I remember what you said. And at the time, it's what's in the rules are not in this policy. This policy was on complaint and process resolution. For the most part, it is not on what's inside it. And I felt this board needed to have that knowledge to make an informed decision, and we didn't have it, which is why I voted no. So.
I will state clearly and loudly that I am not willing to vote against the rule of law. I'm not willing to put our students, our finances, or our district in a place that could be detrimental to our continuance. I believe in the justice system, and I believe that it will shake out in the courts as our Constitution has outlined the plan for our federal government with branches of government and checks and balances. Whether that is in our individual or whole favor and opinion of that policy or not is not germane. What is germane is what our legal representatives that have been sought advice of in multiple ways and multiple times under the advisement of our superintendent of what we should do in order to protect our students, to follow the law, and to provide options that are legal to follow either policy in places where there is a question. It is very clear to me what we need to do, and it's maintain legality and rule of law. Let the justice system shake it out the way it's intended to be.
Any other discussion?
Is there a simple description of what the difference is?
No.
Okay, it's just very, okay, I just want to know, to make it, kind of clear, I suppose, but it's,
Nope.
okay.
There is not a simple
Okay.
description of the differences. I talked with both Troon and Miller Johnson, as I shared in the email when I sent the 2 documents. Those are the documents that both of the groups that we work most closely with are saying, if you want to learn more on Title IX, here's where it is, because it's in court. And so their role is to say, here's what we suggest you do in order to keep yourself compliant underneath the federal law as it's currently written.
Thank you.
There was a very conservative judge on our Supreme Court named Antonin Scalia. And one of his famous quotes was, "I am not the final say because I'm right because I'm the final say." We gotta let it get to where it needs to get to make the decision for our nation, for our communities, for our states. It has to work through the process.
And I'll argue that due process has already been partially served with the Moms for Liberty caveat that was decided on by the court while it's in appeal.
All right. So just for clarity, the motion on the table is to rescind. So a vote of yes would rescind
The 2024
the
policy.
the policy we approved back in August.
On August 5th.
And a nay would say, no, we do not want to rescind. Okay? Is that clear for everybody? Yes to rescind, no to leave it as it is right now with the Title IX, including the 2024 regs. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Nope. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Go ahead.
Wondergem,
Yes.
Klein,
No.
Steffes,
Yes.
Gardine,
No.
Palmer, no. DeHaan,
Yes.
Hybor,
No.
it does not pass.
All right. Any other items for reports or discussion? Order, please. All right, public comment. On to public comment. As a reminder, excuse me, each individual will have 5 minutes. DeHaan will keep track of that. I've got a number of items, or a number of forms here. So we will start at the top with Jeff Johnston, and Sarah McClure is on deck.
I want to say, as a longtime wordsmith, I appreciate all of the puns, the popcorn puns on the board here. Well, good evening, everyone, members of the board, fellow Grandville parents, friends, neighbors. I came here first to say thank you. Members of this board and the Grandville Schools community have enriched the lives of my 4 children and continue to lift up my youngest, who is a senior this year. We in Grandville are fortunate to be served by a public school district ranked in the top 5% of school districts in Michigan, with a reputation well-deserved for committed faculty and extensive opportunities. The educational team here tonight deserves credit to the extent that they have shaped and advanced the district's mission, values, and principles. They're posted on the wall here. Respect, compassion, humility, communication, learning, grit, like the grit to be up here, excellence, equity, It's an often misunderstood or misrepresented term that simply means equipping every student with the same opportunities to succeed. And another maligned term, diversity. It just means that we value our differences and believe that they make us stronger together. It's nothing to be scared of. In Grandville schools, we believe in providing safe, positive, innovative, and engaging learning. That all students will strive for excellence while learning at different rates and in different ways. We believe in the value of inclusion of all individuals, and that family, community involvement, and support are essential to student success. We grow students who are ethical citizens, mouth is dry. Ethical citizens, agile, adaptive, curious learners who are ready for college or careers. Culturally competent citizens who celebrate and respect diverse populations. Collaborators who understand we live in a large world and need to know how to work with people of all stripes. Relentless, creative problem solvers. Leaders. And I will just note that true leadership is not based in fear, hatred, or division. Our school's mission is to improve lives, right there on the board, I think. Improve lives, and really, this is about improving our world by producing successful lifelong learners. But I anticipate that some members of our community are here tonight to paint a different picture of our district, and to sow fear about people and issues that they either don't understand or don't want to, and to advocate for a different vision. I respectfully reject that vision. Part of their message is campaign related, and I leave it to others to address their incorrect understanding of a school board's role and function. I want to talk from the heart. I want to tell you a little bit about my son. He's a nearly straight-A student, a self-starter whose reliability and organizational skills put mine to shame. His teachers love him. Between classes and extracurricular involvement, he is out from dawn to dark most every day. And yet he loves the chance to sit down with my wife and I at the dinner table or play games as a family. He is happy. He hosts his many friends at our home graciously, joyfully. He's held paying jobs, showing responsibility. He's applying to colleges that can prepare him to blaze a trail. I could go on, but all I will add is that he is trans. For many of his successes, my son has Grandville schools and its welcoming and respectful policies and people to thank for who he is. Here, he has gained the confidence and self-assuredness to tell me without hesitation that I could come here tonight and tell you about him. How dare anyone suggest that he or his peers or his school or his community would be better off denying the reality of who he is or asking him to pretend to be someone he is not. So I'll say thank you again to those in Grandville who stand up for our core principles: respect, compassion, diversity, humility, equity, communication, learning, grit, and excellence. These values have led Grandville schools to a place of leadership and admiration statewide. They lead our students to respect themselves and others on their pathways to success. Changing course for a backward and fearful agenda would be a tragic mistake. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Sahara, and on deck, Alyssa Parker.
Hi. This is my second time to be here in this board meeting. I informed you guys on May 20th that my son, Akal, was targeted and deliberately assaulted by two boys until it resulted in his tooth being broken in half. And I informed you guys on how middle school principal and his assistant did not provide us with the support that Akal needed. And I came here and I asked Roger for help. And we didn't get the help that Akal needed. We didn't get The only thing we got is a message that is unacceptable, especially to a parent like me. I want all this to be on the record. On March 13, 2024, it was the worst day ever for the Abul family. And it continued to be the worst year for the Abul family. To our knowledge, there were only 2 video footage I informed you guys of. Those footage show how a call was targeted. At the first footage, Cody and Walter grab a call, slam him against the locker, grab his arm behind his back. They were punching him on his arm. They were using their knee to kick him with. And then they said every horrible thing to him. The only thing my son could do is he turned his head to the left and took it. And he cried, he cleaned his face, he went to class. He came out, he saw those boys, he asked them, why did you guys do this to me? And the boy responded, Cody responded, you better start running, and he ran. He got slammed against the wall, his tooth broke. We were showing those videos. But on September 9 of this year, a 3rd video was sent to the prosecuting office that we never watched before. And in that video, it showed that our son was assaulted by Walter that's no longer in the district. And then it showed our son running, and he got a force slam against the wall and broken, and his tooth broke. The prosecuting office, pretty much, that's the only thing they could do, show us those footage. I came here today to just tell you guys that the message we received from Roger Barrett was unacceptable. Roger, this is a call. He is the victim of the hate crime that was committed against him on March 13, 2024. Those 2 boys assaulted him over and over and over again that day. And if they continue, if they didn't break his tooth that day, they would have continued to assault him. A call still refused to go to school. I informed you guys on how he refused to go to school. And until this day, he still refused to go to school. A call would come home from school, and he would sit in a corner of his closet and cry. On August 5th, a call asked me, why did those boys do this to him? And a call, I'm going to answer that to you today.
1 minute.
All right. He is the victim, Roger. But from the footage that we got that was sent to the prosecuting office, he was made as into a villain. He is no longer the victim, but he is the victim. His tooth is broken in half. Cody Darforce he targeted my son. Walter was never held accountable. And for me to come here and to ask for your support, and because I didn't get the support from the middle school, all I need is justice for a call. You pretty much said, hey, part of your message is he's just a black kid with immigrant parent. She's gonna try and fight and fight and fight until she give up and then remove her son from the school.
That's 5 minutes.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa Parker. On deck is David Burkett.
So I do want to start by saying I also have a senior I practice this a lot, and I'm not, I told her she should go first, maybe I should have. And there are a lot of cases where I have been proud. I'll be like, that's my guy, Big Raj, you know, I'm proud of the way that the administration handles things, and we joke around about that at home. We've really enjoyed, I went to East Kentwood, and I think at the time, it was really opposite, you know, they kept trying to sweep things away, you know, kind of just make problems go away, hide them, get rid of them, instead of really addressing them. And so when Zeta came to me about what happened, and I was just shocked. And I think she only came to me because she was just breaking down outside of a football game, and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening, right? I mean, no clue. And I was just shocked about her story in a way that at that football game, I told her, like, tell me anything that's happening that I can go to and be a support. So we do have a group of us here today. Also not really, you know, connected to the case, but connected to the spirit of what is going on. Okay, so I'll start. So I'm here tonight with several others to support a Grandville mother whose son was assaulted inside of his school. I'm an advocate, a mom, and a concerned member of the safety in this community. This family has been shaken. Their son should be thriving and growing inside of his school this year, and instead he's facing emotional and physical scars from the incident. If they had not broke his tooth on that day, what would have stopped them? No one spoke. No one's spoken since. A mother sat in a school and saw a video of her child being brutally attacked, and then when prosecution needed that video, that's not the one that's released. I'm shocked that Grandville is not, you know, reacting in a way that I have seen them before. I'm concerned for the accountability of all children. She watched the video, and I believe her. A tragedy like this going unnoticed will lead to a culture where safety seems negotiable, consequences are inconsistent, and trauma lingers. They trusted this institution, as all the parents sitting here do, and now their son is lost in a system, and that feels indifferent to his pain. It's time for the transparency, release of video, communication about the events. This could be used as an opportunity. Every staff should know what happened, learn from it. Prevention, response, accountability. Every student should walk the halls without fear of violence and retaliation. It's about ensuring families who entrust their children in this school all day long have a community that's going to protect them. Hiding the truth only deepens the wounds and erodes the trust that we place in this board and the administration. And we ask that you provide full, unedited, all videos to prosecution to show this family and every family in Grandville that they matter, their children matter. The school is a place of learning, safety, and respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Order, please. Order. Up next, David Burkett. On deck, Lynn Jansen.
Thank you for the time. Going to partially cover a few different topics here, but first I'm going to start with a clip from a recent school board meeting. I'm going to take my phone off silence first.
What are we listening to again? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
This is a clip from a recent school board meeting, one of our school board members, and I'll touch on the content.
The changes in Title IX that came from the Biden administration from a federal level dealt with LGBTQ plus whatever else the alphabet was, right? Mm-hmm.
So here we've got a school board member who had said LGBTQ plus whatever else the alphabet wants. So our job here is to protect and respect all students, from the boy who's creating an elaborate promposal for the girl of his dreams to the gay child who has found a loving connection in the same gender. Unfortunately, we don't have that when we have board members like Bob Wondergen, who not only cannot be bothered to respect students by learning the simple acronym LGBTQ+, but who additionally take it a step further and employ a common homophobic insult like the one you just heard. This was replayed from the August 5 board meeting. It's time to call this what it is. It's an attack on children. The board's first job is to protect and serve all children, not just a few. It is definitely not supposed to carry out a hateful agenda against kids who just want to exist. So I respect the work that most of you do on this board, and I've got a deep appreciation for the community members here, showing up out of concern for our kids, many who are willing to speak up and provide context to their worries and their anger. Unfortunately, much of that concern has been a consequence and intended product of misinformation and falsities. Many of these harmful and ill-informed claims have been spread throughout Facebook, coming from groups like Grandville Parents for Education. Now, don't get me wrong, those who are spreading these lies, I don't believe they understand Title IX, nor have they put effort into crafting their own messages. These are disinformation campaigns and propaganda perpetuated by groups like Ottawa Impact, the hate group Moms for Liberty, and other extremists. So I implore those of you in the community who came here with concerns about boys and girls bathrooms and the like, to educate yourself on Title IX, the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act, and our own Grandville Public Schools processes and systems already in place. And if you came here to comment, I hope you're listening to the words you use and ask yourself if you are truly aware of the content you're speaking of. Many of those words may be coming from a place of anger, and please let me remind you, hate begets more hate. These lies do nothing but create an unsafe environment for trans and queer folks. This includes students at our own schools who we're supposed to protect. This is not okay. As stated earlier, even if our school board decides to ignore the 2024 Title IX modifications, we only open ourselves up to lawsuits and loss of funding. Now, if you have paid attention, that's a playbook directly from the financially irresponsible Ottawa Impact. Now, it'd be remiss of me not to mention our current school board members in bed with OI, hate groups like Moms for Liberty, and those dead set on defunding public education in favor of privatized exclusive schools. It's Bob Wondergen and Joe Steffs. As you heard in the clip I shared, Bob has been on record spreading hate towards segments of students. He does not support all students. And Joe had actually tried to take away a funding decision from us, the Grandville Public. He voted to not allow us to choose to renew the non-homestead tax, which, by the way, would have been against the law. This wasn't him deciding it was wrong. This was him trying to take that decision about our children's future away from us. And Brett and Don, we see you affiliating and conspiring also with these individuals who are tied to these hate groups. So I truly hope Bob, Joe, and Brett find it in their hearts to support and protect all children. And I also truly hope that their endorsed, affiliated, and extremely unqualified candidates, Mary Gunther and Sean Yonker, do not make it on this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn Jansen. On deck, Julie Dole.
The following is the opening text of Title IX. No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participating in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. According to Webster's dictionary, the word sex has several definitions. The most relevant is either of the two major forms of individuals that occur in many species and that are distinguished respectively as female and male, especially on the basis of their reproductive organs and structures. In contrast, gender identity is not a well-defined phrase in law. Without an agreed-upon societal definition, this allows an individual to be fluid with his or her gender identity. An individual may only feel like a female when he wants to use the girls' locker room, or on days when the girls' basketball team has a game. We should not even consider abiding by these new regulations until the federal administration can definitively answer the question that Justice Brown Jackson couldn't, that being, what is a woman? The new regulations are enjoined from enforcement in over half the states. They are also enjoined from enforcement in schools where students or faculty are associated with the groups Female Athletes United, Young America's Foundation, Moms for Liberty, and several other associations. The new 2024 regulations clearly violate the Administrative Procedures Act because they are specifically contrary to the actual Title IX law passed by Congress. The new regulations also go further than Title IX statutory authority. They do so in a couple of ways. One, they redefine the word sex to also mean gender identity. Sex is was a well-defined term in 1972 when Title IX was passed. And obviously it was not meant to include the concept of gender identity, a concept that would not come into the public discourse for about another 50 years. Because this regulation would force schools that take federal money to allow male students into female bathrooms, which it does, they specifically contradict Title IX, Section 1686, which states, "Nothing contained herein shall be construed to prohibit any educational institution receiving funds under this act from maintaining separate living facilities for the different sexes." These regulations also violate the Constitution in a few ways. First, they violate the First Amendment by forcing students and faculty to refer to transgender students and faculty using their preferred pronouns. This forced speech obviously is in contrast to the First Amendment's freedom of speech. For many Christian students and faculty, it will also violate their freedom of religion. This is likely also true for students and faculty of other religions whose practices and traditions I am not familiar with. These new regulations also violate the 14th Amendment, specifically the Due Process Clause, with regard to sexual harassment, which is now defined as sex-based harassment. They do so by promulgating the following rules. 1, a live hearing and cross-examination are not required, so a student or teacher may be punished without being able to confront his or her accuser. 2, the single investigator model is permissible, meaning that one person can both investigate and determine the guilt or innocence of an accused individual. 3, schools must use a preponderance of evidence standard. This means that a single investigator shall determine your punishment based on whether it is likely that you have committed an act of sex-based harassment. Again, no longer sexual harassment, but sex-based harassment. That means that if the investigator is 51% sure that you've done something wrong, then he can determine the future of your educational or professional career. With regard to women's sports, by using the logic of treating people who identify as female as if they were actually female, there is no way that we will be able to keep our girls' sports just for girls. 18-year-old men will be playing basketball, softball, volleyball, and soccer with our daughters. Girls' track records will be held by biological men as they now are in many other states. In short, the new Title IX is exactly the opposite of what Title IX was meant to be. I urge this board to reconsider the adoption of these new rules. If they do not, I urge this community to elect a board that will enact policies that better fit the values of the Grandville community. Let's make Grandville a safe place to be a girl again. Thank you.
Order. Up next, Julie Dahl. On deck, Joanne Lanstra.
Good evening. My name is Julie Dahl. Lots of heavy stuff going on tonight. So I just first want to address something, the young man that was assaulted and his tooth was broken. I know I need to address the board, but he's going to be just fine in life because he comes from two loving parents who take the time to stand up for him. And that is more important than anything. And so I cannot give you guys enough respect and acknowledgement. No matter how the situation is handled, he is going to do great. He comes from a great family. Well done. Also, I would like to remind the board, disagreement is not hate speech. I am educated on Title IX. I was in Lansing when Elliott Larson was passed. Legislation was passed saying that basically if you disagree, offend, or hurt anyone's feelings under Elliott Larson, you are now categorized as hate speech. It is wrong. Sorry your feelings are hurt when the truth is confronted, but that's the way it is. I will not back down. I'm a graduate of Grandville High School. I graduated in the mid-90s. My kids have remind me all the time how old I am. I was born in the 1900s. I grew up here within these walls, and I went on to play soccer in college. And the only reason I was able to do that is because Grandville gave me the opportunity to do that. It changed the trajectory of my life. Had I played against boys, men, that would not have happened. I would not have had that opportunity. My daughter will not have that opportunity. Future females will not have that opportunity. I remember having my friend's mom record my games. I'd get the VHS, I'd package it up, and I sent it to different colleges. I got recruited off of that. I went to college on a scholarship to play sports, an athletic scholarship. I would not have had the opportunity to go to college otherwise. You are taking away opportunities from females to better their lives, to enhance their lives, because you're not being bold enough to stand up for what's happening right now. You can say it doesn't involve sports. It will soon. It's a federal law. Look at other states. It's a matter of time. You can say it's just about bathrooms and lockers and things like that, and we don't have a high volume of that happening right now. It will. Look at the trends. Prepare yourself. Do it now. I have a daughter. Who's going to stand up for her? Who's going to make sure she feels safe? Who's going to ensure her opportunities? Who's going to make sure she's a lifelong learner like I was? I went to college. Again, it changed my life because I went to school on a soccer scholarship. I didn't have to compete against men for that money, for that scholarship. I went into kinesiology, into business, and I now own my own business in the health and wellness field. And it started here in these walls at Grandville. Do not rob other females from that opportunity, please. Look at the trends. Look at what's coming. I know that the hesitation is saying, let the legislative process play out. And I can understand that. I don't want anyone to break the law. However, it's not breaking the law. We have 2 other schools in Kent County who have stood up and been bold, and I'm asking you to do the same. Other things that were against the law where people stood up, women weren't able to vote for a long time until bold people stood up and said women could vote. Segregation was on the law. Bold people stood up and said, this is not right. In Title IX, these changes are not right. And I'm asking you today to come together, stand up for the females, stand up for all students who are marginalized, and say, this is not right. Thank you.
Order. Joanne Lannister is up next. Sally Van Eck is on deck.
I'm here to help represent the Abels and their son. I agree with the last speaker that they are phenomenal parents. Phenomenal parents. And first of all, Sarah would really like to have that 3rd video that for some reason, well, it's the first one, but there were, for the whole thing, there were 2. Now there's 3. They found another one where he was bullied by these 2 boys. And we would like that to be seen. I was with the original meeting. I actually, I am the sponsor that brought Sarah's family, helped to acclimate them to the United States back in 1999. There were 4 children, 3 boys and Sarah. The 3 boys have, as boys do, go their way. And Sarah has become my adopted daughter. Mother is no longer here. So I've known them all these years, been involved in their life, love them like my own children. And one of the things that troubles me deeply is how badly this has affected them as a family. At that meeting with the assistant principal of the junior high, he was kind, he was trying to be patient. I could tell he was anxious to get home. It was after school. But I felt like he was kind of like, this is another, incident. We have these all the time, blah, blah, blah. And I said to him, I just want to know, what are you doing about this? Because there's no staff in the hallways. They've got videos. But what I saw was so upsetting. A Cole, you see him now, he's taller now. But back then, they lifted him right off the ground as they pounded him against the locker. And there's video of that. I said, what do you do? And his answer was, well, our policy is to teach the students to tell an adult if they see something like that happening. And I said, they're 7th and 8th graders, they're children. Why would they tell on something they saw, knowing that that person that's doing that might come after them if they report it? There should be a policy of no touching, period. You don't touch another person that does not want to be touched. And if they're bugging you, you go to an adult and tell them that they're bugging you. If they said something you don't like, you go. That you don't touch people, you don't hit them. It's not, you don't have that privilege. Hands off. Crickets. So here we are with a child that cries in the closet when he gets home. He's up late because he can't sleep. He walks around the house and then he has nightmares. I have a daughter who's also having a very hard time with this because she feels like no one's listening. No one's listening. How often does this have to happen? Is he the only black child in the junior high? That's a scary thing. He was fine until this happened. He was playing basketball with the other friends. They've all their 5 kids have friends.
1 minute.
But something has happened. And part of it is they feel that they're not being heard. They would like the footage to be seen. Have you as a board seen the footage? That needs to be seen. Yeah, now there's 3. The prosecutors have them.
His arm is being held back, he's being kicked, punched, called every name in the book. We just need the footage. That's all. We don't need
That is
anything else.
that's what the parents would like, is for you to see what we saw. And the extra one that came from somewhere. And when it went to the prosecutor, my understanding was only one video went over there. And that was the one where they were chasing him down the hall, pushed him against a wall, and he broke his tooth.
It's 5 minutes.
So something's being covered up. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sally Vanek, Adam Bush is on deck.
It's hard to follow because that's what I feel our school district needs to try to prevent. That's something to fear. So I'm here today to commend my friends and former colleagues, Brian Mulder and Stacy Bile, for the amazing job they did on the Amazing Shake. It was a phenomenal event. And here are some of the lessons that all of us as adults can learn, is that when you employ honest, forthright communication as a human to a human, you can make connections. It doesn't have to be us and them. the kids before the event, they were going around helping each other shake hands and say, "Hi, my name is so-and-so. How are you today?" And any adult that was there left feeling entirely uplifted because these kids were the models for all of us as adults and how we should behave. Not hiding behind screens, saying nasty things, but talking face to face, greeting each other as human beings, not being sneaky and putting things on people's cars or whatever, but talking face to face, being human, being kind, being real. So my heart goes out to this family and this young man, but there are things that we can do as adults to prevent that. When we can stop treating each other as enemies and try to come together and work for the common good for all of our students, because that's the focus of why we are here tonight. Not for adult agendas, but for the needs of our students. I would encourage anyone to go to events like the Amazing Shake, to see what kids are like. Listen to the Suburban podcast. Hear what the real concerns are of kids in our schools today. I will guarantee you, it's not the bathrooms, it's not the books, it's social media. They're hurting from that because it hides all the hatred. You can hide behind screens. It's breaking our kids down. It's creating anxiety and stress. Those are the things that are hurting our kids. It is dealing with family situations, families that are broken, families that are dealing with poverty and who's going to be raising the kid. Those are the things that we need to focus on. And as educators, as school board members, as leaders, as adults, we need to put aside our own preconceived notions of what we think kids need and really find out what it is that's breaking them down. Because violent behavior breaks kids down. But where do they see that? Where do they get that from? It doesn't come from just anywhere. It comes from what they see modeled in the adults around them. And I, for one, as a citizen of this community, as a 42-year resident of Grandville, a former teacher in this district for 21 years, a mother to 4 students who graduated from this district, and now grandma to 5 kids that are going to be going through this district, we need to do better. We need to do far better as adults, as models for our students,
1 minute.
our children. And I would just pray and beseech from one Christian to some of you who are Christians, please, what are the tenets of our faith? It's not this. It's not what this is. You can see it in things like the Amazing Shake. You can see those good things coming out. And we need to trust our kids and listen to them and see what they're demonstrating to us. They don't want this. They want people to take care of them and be the adults in the room. So thank you for your time. Thank you for promoting those wonderful programs like the Amazing Shake and the other things that are going just wonderfully in our district, and I wish you all the luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Adam Bush. On deck, Jackie Pullman.
Hi. So I was hopeful you would flip your vote earlier, but did you realize what you were agreeing to? Have you seen what's in the new Title IX? Because it sounds like some of you have not. Did you realize you just gave the green light for biological males to share restrooms, locker rooms, and showers with biological females? We're talking about your daughters, your granddaughters, your nieces. How are you okay with this? The new Title IX states that schools must allow students to use facilities consistent with their gender identity, regardless of their biological sex. I repeat, it says schools must allow. They must. Single-stall restrooms are no longer a workaround solution with the new Title IX. I don't understand why I keep hearing that that is your plan. What is to stop the band camp incident from becoming a regular occurrence in our schools once this becomes policy? Now imagine the same issue with field trips that involve an overnight stay. And legally, you won't be allowed to inform the other parents ahead of time. How do you think that's going to go? Title IX was originally created to provide protections and fairness to female students, assigned at birth bona fide biological females. This latest bastardization of Title IX takes all that away. Board, you cannot ignore the physiological differences between a biological male and a biological female. It doesn't take an active imagination to predict what could easily happen with essentially co-ed restrooms and locker rooms, whether it be consensual or otherwise. Experiencing this sort of thing would be a challenge for most mature adults. How many of you on the board could handle that? And we're talking about children here. Children with raging hormones and underdeveloped brains. Board, please don't prioritize inclusion over safety. I urge you to fix this if it is not too late. Do not adopt, do not approve, do not enforce these new Title IX rules. I know your law firm has advised you otherwise. I also know the new Title IX is being blocked in 26 other states and challenged in literally every state when you consider the Moms for Liberty lawsuit and others. Speaking of which, it is my understanding that by agreeing to adopt the new Title IX rules, you are essentially forfeiting the protections provided by the Moms for Liberty injunction. So that would be a good thing to double check as well. I've also heard it said you could lose federal funding by not adopting these reckless policies. However, I found multiple articles that claim 80 to 90% of all public schools were already Title IX non-compliant before all this business, and not one of them has ever lost federal funding. Not one. So, I don't know if someone isn't being completely honest or transparent with you, but I would suggest you perhaps seek legal counsel outside this district. It's free to you through the Michigan Association of School Boards. Maybe you'll find a different, or gain a different perspective. Ask questions, lots and lots of questions, and be sure you fully understand what this is going to look like for Grandville if you adopt these policies. I hope you reconsider your decision. At the very least, table it until after these lawsuits are settled. And for future votes such as this, please consider the values of the people you're elected to represent. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie Pullman. Order. Order. Jackie Pullman. Okay, up next, Beth Legate.
I'm a mom, a Grandville graduate and a Grandville senior, marching band senior. I'm a Christian. I believe in liberty, the liberty of all of us to live and believe as we choose, while respecting those who believe differently than us. And I'm grateful for the better part of this board who understand that this is a crucial part of serving a public school. You can interpret better part however you wish. It is a school system that is made up of a beautiful myriad of ethnic backgrounds, religions, and beliefs. Mr. Wondergem, you said it's a majority of people that want Title IX overturned. It takes one family from Moms for Liberty to complain or make a report at each school to make that non-compliant. One family is not a majority. I thank all of you who serve the beautiful, diverse mix of families and students that make up Grandville School District. Thank you for the time that you have spent on Title IX. You have asked the questions. You have studied well. Despite what others have said, I know you've done the work. And I thank you for making difficult decisions that support all of Grandville students, no matter their background, their orientation, their religion, their beliefs. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our public comment. The next board meeting of the Grandville Board of Education will be Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Administration Building. We are adjourned.